So let's see.
Hello.
You all
Hello.
are hi. You all are here to discuss the coalition. We would hope that everyone is aware, but we cannot assume. So
Yeah.
this opportunity to be able to let everyone know, Ash has tentacles that go out. And so it's just not a big, they don't just have a big meeting. There are different tasks groups and etc. So this is the time for you all to share that globally. So we're going to turn this over. And it says you guys have a giveaway.
We
Hey now.
do. We just figured we'd catch everybody early while everybody's still alert and their brains are firing. We are working with Slido. This will not enter in you if you're started entering your email. This will not be visible, or it shouldn't be visible. And if it is, I apologize, but hopefully it'll go through very quickly. For us to be entered the giveaway, we will be in contact with. We'll pull two random winners through our giveaway entries. We'll actually pull this up later as well. So hopefully it'll give us the opportunity to be able to pull some winners, get some swag, and together we can share some of the wonderful things that we have.
Wonderful.
Um,
Just
and as we're doing these, just kind of giving ourselves kind of our full introductions here, since we actually represent different sides of the Center for Sickle Cell within the American Society of Hematology. As our wonderful partners here have mentioned, I am the manager of the Sickle Cell Disease Coalition, and I'm joined by my director, Julie Kennedy Lush, and of course, Justine Nicholas, who is our senior manager with our research collaborative. And so, as was mentioned, we do have kind of the different umbrella that is within the American Society of Hematology. It is the only disease-specific initiative that we have within our organization. And so we'd love to be able to take the opportunity to tell you about that. And we will be popping in through different kind of opportunities of questions as well as information today. And from here, I will pass it over to Julie, actually.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Julie Kennedy Lesh. As Ivy said, I'm the director of the Center for Sickle Cell Disease Initiatives at ASH, or the American Society of Hematology. I don't have any disclosures or relevant relationships to share with you this evening. Okay, so we wanted to start it off by actually hearing from all of you. We're so honored and thankful that you included ASH in this 24-hour event, and this is our first time participating. So we really wanted to hear from folks who have been on this webinar. What have you learned so far? What has been something that you've experienced or learned that was something new while you've participated the last few hours? All right. Okay, so I see everyone knows how to use Slido, so that's great. So that's awesome. I mean, this is a testament to the strength and resiliency of this warrior community coming together from all across the world to talk about sickle cell disease and the different resources and experiences. So this is great. And Together We Can is certainly a theme that you'll see throughout our presentation. So love to see that here. And I love that info about Oman. That's great. That's always something new and interesting to learn about different parts of the world, being vocal, empowerment. These are all amazing opportunities and more on the horizon. That's great. So you can flip to the next slide. I'm not sure who has control, but I'll just say next slide when I'm ready. So just to remind you guys, and you may not have heard of us, or you may have, I don't know, we're the American Society of Hematology. We're often called ASH for short. And our mission is really to support hematologists to provide.
Did we lose her?
No. We apologize for that. I know that
bone
she.
marrow disorders.
Sorry, Julie,
So,
you froze there for a moment, so we missed kind of your last minute of chatting there.
Oh, sorry. Just sharing with you the mission of the American Society of Hematology. Is it good now? Can you hear me?
We can
Okay.
we can hear you.
And just sharing that we work with hematologists who care for patients with sickle cell disease, but also with other blood and bone marrow disorders. And you could flip to the next slide. So, as hematologists and as the American Society of Hematology, we have a very strong commitment and interest in sickle cell disease and have been active in this space for actually almost 10 years now, more than 10 years, but in a concerted effort for the last 10 years. This sort of came together around 2016, 2015, when hematologists at the American Society of Hematology decided or got together and said, you know, what could we do to help people with sickle cell disease, not just in the US, but in other countries around the world where it can be more of a global public health burden than just in the US. It started very small with this one report where experts got together and said, okay, these would be the areas where American Society of Hematology could make a difference. And from there, we've just grown the portfolio of work focused on sickle cell disease to a lot of other areas that we're going to talk through a little bit this evening. So you can flip to the next slide. And the Center for Sickle Cell Disease Initiatives is the group that exists at ASH to help coordinate the activities across the organization. So as you click through, I'm just going to walk through some of the different initiatives that we have across ASH that focus on sickle cell disease. So we certainly have education and things like the little slide in the corner there is a gene therapy educational module that we just put out for hematologists that are providing gene therapy to people with sickle cell disease. We are very active. We're located in Washington, D.C., so we are certainly up on the Hill and advocating for access to quality care for people with sickle cell disease. We have a data registry, very uh, similar concepts to what Dr. Cantor just talked about with Granddad, but Justine will tell you more about that, and that's called the ASH Research Collaborative. And then Ivy's going to share with you more about our Sickle Cell Disease Coalition, which many of your organizations may be familiar with and may be a part of. We also have the Consortium on Newborn Screening in Africa, which is in 7 sub-Saharan African countries and is a newborn screening program for sickle cell disease and sickle cell trait that links people to care and makes them aware of their sickle cell disease status or trait status upon their newborn screening. We have clinical practice guidelines. We have a suite of 5 different guidelines in sickle cell disease, and we're working on a 6th one right now, actually about hydroxyurea dosing and monitoring. And finally, in 2024, we put out a research agenda for sickle cell disease that have been updated since the last one that we had put out about 5 years earlier. And this kind of details what experts feel the key areas are for research in sickle cell disease in order to impact the science moving forward. And I know someone mentioned our annual meeting. I guess we wouldn't be ASH if we didn't mention the ASH annual meeting. So it takes place in December, and this year it'll be in Orlando, Florida. And this is really one of the things that we're known for. This is where kind of the latest and greatest and most exciting new science is presented by academic and medical clinical researchers across the field. So this is an exciting event, and we're always happy to share what's being communicated and discovered and talked about at the ASH annual meeting in sickle cell disease.
And it will be noted that registration is not yet open for it. We will be announcing and sharing across our channels whenever that it does open.
And so in the category of guidelines and quality care, one of the things that we wanted to share with you that we've developed that goes along with our transplant guidelines is a shared decision-making tool that is geared towards clinicians and patients that are trying to make the decision about whether to do transplant. The QR code is available on this slide, and this is something that helps facilitate that conversation, which can be a very difficult one, and one that needs to take place with all of the information in hand for the clinician and the patient as well. And then, as I mentioned, we do have a new gene therapy course that is available for hematologists. And so this looks at gene therapy from the perspective of sickle cell disease. There's interactive modules and kind of myth busters and ways of keeping the hematologists and the people taking the course engaged in the content. And it's available, actually, the URL is right up there on the slide. And I think, oh, and then we also wanted to share, of course, I'm sure this has been talked about quite a bit today, but there's a lot going on in the US right now on Capitol Hill. And we at ASH, this is one of our major tenets and goals in sickle cell disease, is to always go up on the Hill and share with our legislators and lawmakers about how some of the policy changes that they're proposing right now would affect people with sickle cell disease in our country. So in an effort to do that, we started what we're calling the Fight for Hematology campaign. And you can see the link right there to the ASH website. You can learn more about it and get involved from a patient perspective and talking about your experience with sickle cell disease care and some of the programs that are up for debate right now within the US. And so turning back to Slido and hearing from all of you, we'd love to hear kind of what would you want people to know? I mean, I know everyone here is linked by sickle cell disease as a common issue, but we're all people with identities and different things going on. So if you were in a care setting and you wanted your provider or the healthcare professionals to know something else about you besides sickle cell disease, what would that be? For instance, if it were me, I would say I would want people to know that I'm also a mother and a wife, in addition to other parts of my identity. So drop in your answers. Right, I'm not seeing anything populating. Is anyone else?
There we go. I think everybody was typing.
A wife, a mother, a grandmother. Treated with respect, kindness, and love. Absolutely. And we all have a lot going on, that's for sure. I hear that. A dad.
Hear about how our identities are more than just our health concerns, and our well-being is tied to so many other roles and that we have an existence for ourselves.
Right, a medical student, goals and dreams. Yes, absolutely. A human being.
I'm going to add something here that's a bit different from the community, but I think I wish providers knew when in a patient's care it was the right time to have conversations around transformative therapies. I think oftentimes providers fail to bring up those discussions when the patient would be a perfect fit, as opposed to waiting until their health is really critical to start that dialogue with patients.
That's a great point. Thank you for adding that. Okay,
It ties into the next
one more
question
slide
very
out.
beautifully.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, when you set us up really well for this slide. So other ideas. So what does high quality sickle cell care look like to you? When have you experienced high quality sickle cell care, and how did it make you feel? What did it entail? proactive providers. Yeah. Not waiting in the ER.
Cannot access Slido, of
Estimate.
course, we always welcome conversations or dropping them in the chat, or if you feel comfortable coming and chatting with us.
I think every warrior will support this, but I think high quality care is holistic care, recognizing that my mind and body are both important. It's not just my physical health, but my mental health as well.
Immediate, prompt. Yep. Listening. It's also, yeah. Listening. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for sharing that. These are all really, yeah, really great, and gives us a better idea of who we're talking to on the other side of this Zoom. So thanks for sharing these. And I think, am I turning it over to you now, Ivy?
I am. And I think that this really kind of really just talks about how we can connect with the community. And especially as kind of as our role in the center, we always say that it is our way of bringing the community back into the provider group and the provider conversations, making sure that we are bringing representation and conversations that we hear, and we're honored to receive these stories and be able to ensure that they are amplified and resonated. And that kind of ties us into the coalition and the different voices of the sickle cell community. So within the coalition is over 100, I think right now we're actually standing at about 110 official member organizations, with about 36 affiliate organizations with interest both nationally and international interest in sickle cell. We have a good mix between our kind of national and international. And as you can see kind of highlighted here on the screen, these are kind of our goals. And our goals are about uniting the diverse stakeholders. We want to provide a platform, a neutral platform, and that is able to kind of have evergreen and longevity, to be able to bring together stakeholders, to be able to talk about what is happening in sickle cell. Everybody wants to know what is happening in sickle cell, what is working, or everybody being able to share those diverse perspectives. Within the coalition then kind of brings us together into kind of how can we harmonize the voice, how can we kind of align in values and activities to be able to share and bring amplification and volume to the things that are of most concern. And of course, we really hold very strongly to promoting evidence-based interventions and importantly, shared decision-making as related to sickle cell care in all of our activities that we do, and ensuring that those best practices kind of fit in. And within the coalition, as we say, yes, we talk about all of our meetings and all of our subcommittees that we have in existence. And we all do this virtually, so in order to ensure that we are able to align all the stakeholders across foundations, providers, patient advocacy groups, public health and research, different global organizations and agencies that really kind of lend their expertise and their voice to ensure that we are staying aware of the different priorities as they relate to the different stakeholder groups. So that way we can ensure that we are seeing that alignment and partnership. And so what we kind of are tasked to do within the coalition, and what we really feel very strongly, and these are our kind of key tenets of activity, our coalition is utilized to be able to network and initiate partnerships. We have all of this wonderful, easy access to over, at this point, hundreds and hundreds of representatives who work actively in sickle cell. Through together, we want to share knowledge, right? Because I feel that we are all very passionate, and everybody wants to be able to ensure that that information is out there and readily available. And in doing so, we want to make sure that we are all sharing what is already out there to reduce duplication of effort, so we can therefore focus on areas where maybe there continues to be gaps. We want to spread education and awareness, not only amongst ourselves, but of course to the greater community, by developing resources and priority topics as they become identified. And of course, really ensuring that there's good communication and amplification of the work that is being done by our organizations. So within the coalition, especially, we say that we are a supportive network for the organizations, so that way the organizations themselves are able to provide support to their different stakeholder groups, whether they be the patients or the providers or the community in general, to ensure that we can continue our efforts and continue the work across that is so uh, critically needed. So in order to kind of tie that in, though, I know we can't just do everything, although we try. And we do often try can say that we are spread rather thin because, there is so many far-reaching areas. But this year in 2025, we actually identified some content themes. And so the primary theme for this year has been integration and collaboration across states and regions to ensure that we can enhance and improve care. And I think that this is actually the kind of the very long-winded way of saying, much to this year's World Sickle Cell Day theme of how can we have this global intent, this global reach, but have that local impact? How can we be better partners? How can we answer what is everybody doing in sickle cell? How can we support that? How can we be better partners to each other in this space? Because we all have a part to play. And if we all recognize and respect that part, I think we can get so much further. And then, of course, secondary to that, through all of our activities, through our presentations, our educations, the resources that we're currently in development, of course, emergency department care is very critical, especially in the U.S. It's such a kind of at a crisis state that we want to make sure that we are continuing to focus efforts and shine that light towards improving that care and reducing stigma. Through the coalition itself, we say that we're a medium and a platform for communication, not only for our members, but across the community in general. So we have our website, which is scdcoalition.org, where we post the resources that are developed by our trusted partners, where we share resources developed within our subcommittees themselves, or across our social media. Our primary platform right now, we actually joined LinkedIn, so we are able to support the organizations that are a part of our membership and our partnerships. And so please find us there. Feel free to tag us. We love being able to receive information and events, as well as the monthly update, which you can sign up for. Everybody can receive that, which tries to coordinate in a collation of a monthly grouping of sickle cell opportunities, whether they're abstracts, calls for professionals, calls for expertise, and so on, to be able to move forward, to be able to share that space across the community themselves. So please feel free to share that with us, whether you're part of the coalition or not. We always appreciate those partnerships, and you can send that to us to coordinator@scdcoalition.org. And of course, we have our calendar, which is available for viewing for anybody. It's called the SCDC calendar, but it's actually a general SCD calendar for anybody, any sickle cell related event or kind of interest to the sickle cell community. Please feel free to send us flyers. We are happy to post those cards and have that available. We try to post and find them as much as we can, but if you send that to us, it can reach a greater network. And to that, I will pass it over to Justine.
Thanks, Ivy. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me today, and happy World Sickle Cell Day. I'm here to talk a bit about a program that's truly unique within the ASH Research Collaborative, and that is our Community Advisory Board program. The program itself was built around one simple but powerful idea that the individuals living with sickle cell and those closest to them are partners in research and not just participants. So over the next few minutes, I'm going to walk through how our CABs are shaping research within our network. I have no relevant relationships to disclose. I also thought that before I dive in a bit more about our CAB program, that it would be helpful to hear about where it's housed and talk a little bit more about the ASH Research Collaborative. So ASH Research Collaborative, or ASH-RC as we call it, was established in 2018 by ASH. And it was established with a mission to accelerate progress in hematology research. And the plan was to do so in two ways. So improving access to high quality clinical data and also supporting patient participation in studies. Currently, we are focused in two disease areas, sickle cell and multiple myeloma. And each of these two disease groups are supported by dedicated site-based research networks. Next slide. Central to this work is our ASH-RC Data Hub, one of the largest real-world data platforms in hematology, designed to support clinical research, quality improvement, and regulatory decision-making. We are pleased to share with you, and this went live today, the first ever Sickle Cell Data Hub report. This is a significant milestone for ASHRC and for our sickle cell research community of investigators and community of advocates and lived experience experts. The report encompasses electronic health record data collected between 2015 and 2024 across 17 US pediatric and adult hospital centers. It also includes real world data, so real lived experiences of more than 10,000 individuals living with SCD. And some things that you can find in the report, you can use the QR code to download it. You'll find summary descriptions of patient demographics at these 17 centers, common comorbidities, medication prescribing patterns, laboratory testing, ER department and inpatient healthcare utilization, and longitudinal follow-up for thousands of individuals. Next slide. Now let's jump into the CAB program itself. ASHRC knew that if it wanted to make progress within sickle cell research, that it can't just depend on the clinical care teams and the researchers. It knew it had to depend and build trust and connection with the voices of those most affected. And so that's why we created our CABs. Our CABs are made up of individuals living with sickle cell, their parents, other caregivers, anyone who recognizes themselves as advocates, and many community organizations across the US. Who's in our network? Right now, we have 23 comprehensive sickle cell centers. At each of these centers, we provide funding for them to create and connect to the local community. And across all of our centers, we are partnered with over 350 members within the sickle cell community, all with the shared commitment of improving research for the broader sickle cell community. We also wanted to ensure that at the local level, those perspectives are shared across the research network. And so if we go back one slide, each local CAB chooses a national representative to represent that site. And then that representative is then provides community insight and is able to participate in network-wide efforts. And that's really what makes our network special. We often hear that it's our differentiator in the research network because it's not just about the science and research, it's about partnerships. So now I want to shift into two of our current initiatives. The first one is a CAB-directed study aimed at reducing sickle cell stigma in the ED. The concept was conceived by our New York investigator, Dr. Ken Rivlin, who later partnered with our national CAB rep out of Georgia, Dr. Talisha Mayo Gamble. Together, his CAB brought to him that an urgent and unfortunately common issue that the sickle cell community often face is stigma within the ED when they present with pain episodes. It's a first of its kind effort. And what really makes this study itself unique is not just the topic, but the way it's being done. So we're piloting the study at 5 sites, and that's where those red dots are. And the project itself, the CABs are not just our advisors, they're lead advisors, they're leading the work. So they're designing the study, we're walking them through how to analyze the data and then share back the finding to the wider network. So those other remaining CABs in the network. Our study is currently underway, and we would love to come back next year and just share what we learned when we put research in the hands of the community. Next slide. And then our next initiative is the building of a e-library that we're calling the Clinical Trials Education Library. This library was curated and hand-selected by members of our national CAB because they recognized early on that whether or not I want to decide to participate in a research study to know if that's a good fit for me, that I need to have access to clear and trustworthy information. And so on this library that you can navigate to using the QR code, you'll find plain language text, videos, and infographics that breaks down just best practices in clinical research and some of the jargon. While we were doing the work with the NCAB, they also thought that original material in both English and Spanish on the topics of voluntary participation, that we titled The Power of Your Choice to Opt In and Opt Out of Research. Why should you even consider joining a trial for sickle cell? And what happens to your data when you join a trial was important to have on this library. So you can find those specific resources curated on the library today. So one last sentiment. Yes, Dr. Mayo Gamble is good to have. We are lucky to have her and partner with so many lived experience experts. But we're just a few years in this journey, and we're learning that the success of this program will depend deeply on partnerships and trusts. So partnerships with our researchers in the network who are open to listening, to the institutions that they're a part of, willing to share power within those research dynamics, and most importantly, with our community members who believe that when they give their voice to a project, that they are heard and respected. And what I love about this is that we're really just getting started with it. I'm going to turn it back over to my colleague, Ivy. I believe she has one more interactive question for you all.
I think we just wanted to kind of have our end note here about research and what do you feel research has not been currently measured and captured? We'll close on this slide, and if there's any questions, maybe we could open them up really quickly. I know we kind of are starting to go over time, so we don't want to derail our program. So we want to thank everyone for having us, and just know that whenever it comes to the conversations of what are providers doing, what is the community doing besides the patients and trying to take care and provide care, I think there's definitely many avenues and many programs and initiatives that are trying to do the work. And so we just have to ensure that we are having these wonderful platforms and these wonderful partners, right? Because of course, Dr. Rowley and Biba are both partners in our coalition and participate with us and provide their voice and are strong advocates. And we are so grateful to be allowed to be part of this network.
Thank you. Excellent presentation, and just more opportunities for the community to get to know who you all are and what you all are doing and how you engage. Appreciate.
Thank you, Ash Coalition. Always a pleasure to work with you, Ivy. So thanks for coming, and yes, we continue to collaborate.
Thank you.